Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ, where we talk all things tabletop role playing games, including my kitty, if you can hear in the background. Today, we're talking about Monster Mayhem. We're still continuing our series of Monster Mayhem. And part of that series, if we can narrow down our focus, is this week we're talking about Rogues Galleries. Rogues Galleries, where we have our hero and there's a cornucopia, a full basket of baddies that our protagonists go up against. And one great thing, this was spawned by a video created by Tabletop Terrors, in which instead of trying to have one individual big bad person that's at the end of a series or mission or an encounter or campaign. Instead, we can have ourselves a group of individuals, all of them somehow intrinsically related to our heroes, our protagonists in the adventure. And in this way, we have a way for us to, we kind of have an exit when things start to go wrong. We have additional bad guys that we can throw into our game to keep the progression going. Yesterday, we talked about Spider-Man's very extremely large rogues gallery, and how if one bad guy gets taken out, we've got another one to replace them. They also can grow with our heroes. We've seen that through writing and hiring of artists and writers over time, much like ourselves. Today, of course, we're going to talk about we are going to talk about Batman. And the to begin this, I will read out something here sent to us by Tesla Ranger that says that Batman is a standout example, both in terms of memorable villains and in terms of sheer size. Many individual members of the Bat family all have their own rogues gallery too. Combine them all, and you have one of the biggest rogues galleries in comics history, with new members being added all the time, of course. Um, the most famous examples include, and let's see if you guys know any of these: the Scarecrow, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, the Penguin, the Riddler, Catwoman, Mr. Freeze, and the Joker. Lesser known but still highly important villains include Hugo Strange, Hush, Harley Quinn, which I said before we came on air, I said, I think she's moved up a bit. Clayface, Killer Croc, Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul, Deadshot, Bane, Mad Hatter, and Black Mask. And he's also got a bunch of lower tier villains like Killer Moth, Firefly, Ventriloquist, and Scarface, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and it goes on and on and on. KG Beast, Professor Pig, there's a bunch of them. Dr. Daedalus, Dr. Phosphorus, Clue Master, and I believe even such bad guys as like Calendar Man and so on and so forth. And one of the great things about Batman's why there would be a fight between Spider-Man and Batman's rogues gallery, like who's got the best. I think Batman has more of a legacy because to throw a little bit of trivia at you young guys out there in the RPG and geekosphere, that Batman dates back well into. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Mike Gould's like the greatest Batman villain is Gotham itself. Yeah. Batman dates back to the noir era, where the original Batman was dressed up in like a pinstripe suit with a cape and a mask. Dick Tracy is a good example of like the the hard bitten noir individual, and so over generations, as different creators have taken on these characters, creators like us who, when we were young, we would read the comic books, and then as we got older, we knew there was a way to twist and change them. A perfect example, actually, are the taking a look at the Batman's Rogues Gallery as detailed in a number of the like Arkham games, for example. You take a look at a Killer Croc or Joker or something in those games. Even Nolan's Joker is a divergence from the more comedic, lighthearted comics code Joker, and so there's some great energy in terms of using Batman's rogues gallery, but we're going to get into it. Dante says, I sense much of this will jump into the Gotham show. Some really good villain writing in there, good hooks to go with in a game. Oh, absolutely. And we've seen, especially even in our modern senses, we've seen, yeah, yeah, the television show, yeah, Gotham is less about Batman and more about the progression of Penguin's story. And I would even say, like the title of the show, it is very much about, well, Gotham City and this dark, always raining or about to rain or had just rained place with smokestacks in the background and whatnot, very industrialized. And I think that's one of the other great things about a rogues gallery is that it's not, these characters aren't just random, or we would prefer that especially in our modern sense, they're not just randomly thrown together, but there's an environment in which there's a reason why they exist. We don't necessarily agree with what they're doing, but we understand why they're doing it, and it today we really, we have a strange fascination with the bad guys. Not just when I say today, I'm talking about uh, uh, our modern sensibilities. I mean, when during prohibition, there were people who were like giving slow claps and fists in the air for the criminals to drive alcohol across the border. And there's many bad guys that we root for, even on our current movies, where we go, you know what, that's a great bad guy. We wouldn't necessarily agree that they should do those kind of things in our uh, oh man, it's all right. Yeah. Okay, going dark. Got to drive to work. See you in a bit. No problem. Uh, there's a bit of a darkness that we love about our villains, and the great part about Batman's rogues gallery is Gotham itself is a motivating origin, is both an origin and a motivation for the rogues gallery that Batman has. And in many ways, I guess you could call this a retcon of sorts. From the mid 80s on, there have been writers that have basically said, well, wait a minute, Batman himself, Bruce Wayne doesn't exist. Bruce Wayne died when his parents were killed in Crime Alley by Joe Schill, or at least classically in the storytelling, that Bruce Wayne is a facade that he puts on. The real character is Batman. He pretends to be Bruce Wayne, and many have gone on to basically say that, well, Bruce Wayne and Batman, he's not much different than his own adversaries. And we brought this up yesterday about the connection Spider-Man has with his villains. Spider-Man is a very, if I can make this more fantasy related, Batman's a very ranger, druidic, elemental plane kind of character. I mean, most of Spider-Man's villains have animal traits, Doc Ock, Scorpion, Black Cat, or they are elemental in nature. Shocker, Hydro Man, Sandman. Of course, there's fey creatures thrown in there, right? Hobgoblin, Green Goblin, and so on. So we have a lot of that thrown into the mix. For Batman, you could even claim, like, if we wanted to use Batman as an example for our player characters, that nearly all of Batman's adversaries, not necessarily their capabilities, but they are fragments of a choice that happened in Bruce Wayne's mind, and they had similar choices. They just went in a different direction, or they suffered trauma that Bruce Wayne was able to cope with in his own way that others were not, due to circumstances and such. And so there's a little bit of a sympathy involved in it, which is why, and of course, classically, superheroes like to take the villains into prison instead. In this case, it's Arkham Asylum. If we really wanted to go even further, you might even claim that Gotham is very closely related to the Ravenloft series with Vampire Lord, Ravenloft, Dark Powers, um, a city a city eternally wrapped, seemingly wrapped in rain and mist and steam and fog. There seems to be dark shadows around every corner and corruption everywhere. So yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, Dante says, yeah, for sure, Mike, but that's what makes it great. Like smart, like the smart dude said, the best villain is Gotham itself. I feel like Gotham's ingenuity is really sometimes the thing they're fighting against or over. And oh, you meant not ingenuity, in equality. No problem. Yeah, the auto type. You're fine. Yeah, they're always, and I think this really, like, the fact that Gotham itself seems to be the thing that has shaped a lot of both like Batman and his rogues gallery, um, tells us that if in our fantasy setting, in our role-playing games, that the environment itself, if we're going to use this as an example, is something that shapes. Like, for example, let's say we have the accursed desert, and there's this harsh desert with very few oases out there, a dark sun, brutal landscape. Then we're going to see villains and bad guys that are shaped by that very same thing, and building upon that, much like our heroes being the spawn of our many of our bad guys. If a hero was forced to leave behind innocence, or a, a hero was forced to destroy a well-known or very easily populated or oasis somewhere out in this desert, those people might become upset. They might become tortured souls or left out in the wilderness, in which it's hard for them to survive. And then over time, maybe they become mummified and come after the heroes, or they fall into the hands of a roving bands of, I don't know, orc riders that are on giant scorpions that adopt these innocent people, and they're like, oh, you have a vendetta against our heroes, so do we. Why don't you join us? We'll train you, we'll feed you. There might even be like a sphinx that uses their magic and takes in those innocents that were left out in the wild after the PCs completely destroyed an oasis, and the sphinx is like, let me tell you a riddle, and then suddenly they arrive later on, changed and mutated by ancient arcane powers or something. Having a rogues gallery that really has a connection to the player characters I think, is a pretty important one. And one of the things I think we love about Batman's rogues gallery are the origins. Some of them have some pretty incredible and understandable origins. I think Mr. Freeze is probably one of the better ones, in terms of Mr. Freeze trying to save his loved one. You know, uh, Tesla Ranger says in our Discord, Gotham adds Barbara Keene, Theo, Tabitha Gallivan, Jerome, yep, Jeremiah Valeska, and Fish Mooney to its rogue roster. Although they and the rest are more Jim Gordon's gallery than Bruce Wayne's, but I think that adds into it. Heck, I suppose second, third, fourth tier characters would be many of the crime bosses. What F begins with the F? Uh, Fieri, Fauci. Nope. uh, Figueroa. I can't remember. Anyway, they're all the stereotypical. Falcone. That's it. Falcone. Thank you very much. I didn't mean it. Yeah. Woo. Tagliati. Whatever. Yeah. Falcone. That the classic Chicago, New York / Chicago, um, pseudo Italian, stereotypically Italian mobsters and such. They kind of fit in there too as well. Also, honestly, like, since we're talking about Rose Gallery, the fact that Gotham is so corrupt itself, I think adds to that element. I mean, could you imagine a player character wants to play this very noble knight, and then that character comes to find out that they're an agent of a very extremely corrupt government, and everyone knows it except for them. And now the player character's like, well, wow, I really, on one hand, I'm devoted to my town and my city or my nation state, but at the same time, they're like backstabbers and liars and cheats and things of that nature. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Dante says like Two Face, straight up a fallen paladin. City attorney origin is so perfect for that in Gotham. And listen, not all enemies. I'm sorry, not all adversaries need to be enemies. Like for example, Two Face began as really an ally. Well, let's go with the movies since a lot of people know that. With the Nolan movies, Two Face started out as an ally. Hell, even a person who was doing better than Batman himself, right? And then got twisted. And so there is a relationship between Batman and Two Face as far as the movie goes. That wow, this person was an attorney trying to fight against crime, and then the the sheer pain and suffering and trying to ice skate uphill just ruins this individual. So there's a little bit of a man. If I could save this person's life, their save their mind, maybe I could save their life as well, and or even try to hold up their legacy. Batman decided to become a wanted criminal to defend the legacy of Two Face, and I think this also means that not necessarily that we have to have a city based encounter, but Gotham itself is this location, and having the players live in a location that they want to save, that they want it to recover from its lost glory, I think really adds to it. I suppose if someone wanted to use a setting like Ravnica, in which it's almost a city, it is a plane of existence that's an entire city. There is no edge to the city; it's just more city tacked onto it, or having some particular reason why the player characters are attached to the city. Maybe they have a number of NPCs. Of course, you have to have buy-in from your player characters, but this also gives a reason why so many of Batman's villains want to manipulate the city for their own ill-gotten gains, whether it's money or extortion or destruction or slavery, enslaving the population through various means. Lots of terrorist acts, setting explosives around, that kind of thing. Also, there's a lot of story involved in cities where it comes to city government, the population. How many times has Batman had to and the Bat family had to defend individuals that were fed up and they just wanted a better place to live. They just want to do good, and those do-gooders in all classic noir stories get beaten down by the system, if not by specific individuals. And it's the doctor or the nurse that wants to help the people in their neighborhood. It's the old lady that likes to feed the cats and her neighbors with what very little food she has, but knows that the homeless people need to eat. It's the store owner that gives away groceries to people on credit, knowing that they don't have enough money to pay for it. And those are the people that get beaten down. And I think that makes a great story rather than heroes adventuring, beating creatures about the head and shoulders, getting the XP for it, and moving on and getting treasure and stuff. Dante says, like Tatooine in Star Wars, the place itself is a generator of conflict and heroes. Yeah, we're going to get into Star Wars on Friday, but yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, Tatooine is. Like Gotham, Tatooine itself is a place of scum and villainy. They tell you that up front, right? So yeah, we have ourselves a number of bad guys, and I think if let's go down the list of some of our traditional, our top level, if you say, Batman rogues galleries, and kind of let's go some classic Dungeons and Dragons adversaries, monsters, creations, and things, and see where we can go. So let's start out with Joker. I was going to go backwards, but let's start out with Joker. I think Joker makes an excellent Fey creature or a fiend in the terms of a very chaotic fiend. Like I could see the Joker being a reskin like Slotty, Slaadi, Slod, or a powerful fey creature, very chaotic, very satyr like in terms of charming people, convincing people to his side. Um, uh, for lack of better terminology that I can't think of up front, a Pied Piper of the insane in many ways, as well as someone who's able to draw out the deeper, darker emotions out of people. I think that really works. That's not gonna. I'm afraid to make that show up on the chat over there on Twitch. I'm glad you could stop by there. I'm gonna call you the MD Pika. I'm going to call you some Pika. Hey, some Pika. Thank you very much for stopping on in. We were talking about using Batman's Rogues Gallery for our encounter fuel for our tabletop role playing game, especially Dungeons and Dragons. I would say Mr. Freeze is another great one. Mr. Freeze could either be a human being, maybe with a combination of. Oh, I suppose Mr. Freeze could be a combination if you want to really go deep as a player character, uh, enemy, druidic artificer or artificer. You could go that like druidic frost, going very thematic with frost powers. Now, I suppose you don't necessarily need to have gadgets, or you can just use a narrative flexibility for gadgets and things. But any kind of frost-like creature, I think, would fit into it. Or maybe Mister Freeze as a Yeti and tack on a couple of pretty great spell abilities. Maybe some kind of ray of frost. Maybe hold person to act like freezing, or hold monster or something to act like freezing ice and whatnot. I think a lot of that would be really good. Of course, Mr. Freeze is always after diamonds, so you got a little bit of treasure there as well. Who are some other really good Killer Croc? Let's go with some muscular ones like Killer Croc, Clayface, Killer Croc. Well, Clayface definitely you could very easily go with Doppelganger. Now, if you want the uh, more muscular brick-like Clayface, I suppose you could modify some hit points, some bludgeoning damage in there. Maybe Clayface could also be maybe a earth elemental, I suppose, reskinned, or an ooze of some forth. Dante says white dragon polymorphed is an Iceman like Mister Freeze. Ooh, there you go. There you go. Okay, and it doesn't even need to be polymorph. Just reskin. You use the same. You use the exact same stat block, but just rename everything. Right? We don't. We are good enough to do that without having to. But yeah. Oh, Mike. Mike got where he was going. Mike Gould says, "I see a frost hag as Mister Freeze." Yeah. Ooh, frost hag. Mm-hmm. Um, Hags work really good, excellently for brilliant style enemies, don't they? Hags, Nagas, Sphinxes, Ogre Magi / Oni, like Rakshasa, they really fit well for the more brilliant um, members of the Rogues Gallery, I think. Maybe one of the golems. Okay. For like maybe one of the golems. I'm like mentioning like, oh man, Solomon Grundy would be fun in D&D. Solomon Grundy, okay, undead, but like a massive, like a muscular beast of a unstoppable force. um wow, maybe a reskin of a golem. Oh, flesh golem, maybe that would work for a Solomon Grundy. Give a little bit of intelligence added to it. Yeah, imagine fighting that guy. Yeah, stick a sword in him. He's like, I don't get it. Ooh. Yeah, I like it too. There, I like it too. There, Pika. Absolutely. Mm-mm-mm. Uh, and you can zap them with. Oops, what the comment just skipped on me. Sorry about that, guys. Um, there we go. Thank you, there, co-host. Then you can zap them with lightning for comedy. For wait a minute, was it? Oh yes, Flesh Golem, yeah. Solomon Gunnery Flesh Golem, and you do the he's alive with the lightning bolt and whatnot, and everyone looks at the wizard like really, really, and the wizard's like, sorry, I thought it would work. Nope, you just made him angry and more powerful. Thank you there, co-host. Mike says, I like the idea of vilifying the city. The reason there's so much corruption and crime has to do with charm, possession, etc. Like mind flayers, hags, fiends, all at the wheel, making the city so dark. And listen, again, maybe there's something about the city itself for whatever reason, through legacy, through a dark power in it, that you have this cornucopia of evil intent, and maybe that's a reason why you have. Oh, there's necromancers. Oh, we also have fiends. We also have hags. We've got ghosts. We've got fey creatures. We've got dragons. We have all these different things vying over bits and pieces of the city, with the ebb and flow of who's in power, who doesn't. And again, with using the rogues gallery idea, that if one of them falls by the wayside, the PCs roll a bunch of dice and like pretty much blast the ass out of your necromancer. There's still many more bad guys to be had, and we know through crime, through politics, that nature does not like a void. Nature refuses to have a void. So when the PCs go and kill, say, a necromancer that wants to take over the west side of the city, there's going to be your other rogues guys going to move in. They're going to increase in power, i.e., they're going to increase in level and challenge rating, right? So yeah. Come on, Mike. The Bat family are tieflings. Those aren't ears; they're horns. Yeah. Who's to say that the player characters maybe don't even have? I know you're joking, but listen. What if the player characters um, are surrounded by an entourage of individuals who look up to the player characters? Remember, adversaries don't necessarily need to be enemies. They could be on the player character's side, and now they have a brood sidekicks that they need to watch over. And of course, we have replacements, PCs, in case one of them dies, right? So you could have these bunch of people that look up to the player characters, that are trying to emulate what they do, looking at Batman. And we often see Batman coming in for, pouting like, what are you kids doing? Blah, blah, blah. I'm the best here. Smack, smackety smack. So, giving them a spanking, putting them over his knee. But Huntress, Nightwing, the Red Hood, various iterations of Robin, Batwoman, Batgirl, so on. You can keep going on and on. Azrael and all these people. All these individuals are like hangers on, and they all have their own stories. And then Batman kind of gets inserted into it. Michael says, Tabaxi Catwoman 2 on the nose. I think if I think everybody was actually thinking that too. And um, diversity and inclusion. Don't say that human Batman is wrong for wanting to have a on again, off again relationship with this Tabaxi Catwoman. Guys, everybody to each their own, right? Uh, so absolutely, hell, Ra's al Ghul, isn't Ra's al Ghul's name translated as the demon or something, who lives forever? Like, on a smaller note, could actually be a very intelligent reskin troll type dude, but also there are other fiendish creatures out there that would work. Ha! Oops. There it is. Tesla Ranger says Joker's toxin equals Tasha's hideous laughter. Yes. 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 Oh, absolutely. Yes. It's perfect. Batman is a closet furry. Hey, listen, when you suffer that much trauma as a kid, you should. Although to be honest, he's got an he does have an inordinate attraction to furry animals long before Catwoman. I mean, bats kind of add to that as well. So okay, we can't really listen. There's been some controversy with Batman and his current sexual prowess in the media. So okay, all right, okay. Which also brings up the fact that again, enemies don't necessarily need to be hated. There could be player characters could absolutely positively have an on again, off again relationship with some of their adversaries that are out there. You're so right. Princess Briarhammer says, "Dude has a rubber fursuit. Batman has always been a furry." Yeah, yeah. Down in his basement, so nobody else sees it. Absolutely, bringing other. Although you could say maybe he shouldn't be bringing other minors into his darker attractions, but whatever. I'm a bird. Good for you, kid. Good for you. Oh man, Mike Gould says I can see Batman in a D&D tavern. Batman, yeah, but my parents died. Everyone else, get in line. Bunch of murder hobos, all orphaned. Ugh, I'm Batman. Yes, I know, dude. Are you going to order another drink? I'm sitting in the corner. Thanks, D. Ah, yes, it's the content I come for. Uh, Batman, the dark and destruction. I've I've got to see my sexy furry. What did you say to me? Never mind. Oh man, the Batmobile really should be a white panel van with free candy, given the number of kids he's taken. No, oh no. On my utility belt, I've got candy and a dog's leash. Although I don't have any dogs. Hey kid, can you help me find my puppy? Oh shit. Oh man, you guys are so wrong. Princess Brihammer says Pies will be like, we will make a prestige class just so you can specifically be Batman. And they did too. Oh yeah, and listen, we've seen how many arguments have we seen? Like what alignment is Batman? What character class would Batman be? Vengeance Paladin Batman or something like that. So yeah. Oops. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Okay, sorry about that, princess. Then in new edition, they made an archetype for it. Uh, oh, I know it exists. I've never seen it. Never seen it. The barbarian to the Batman. I'm not wearing hockey pads. Those are my muscles. Now, I will say that I will say that along with Batman and other things, allowing ourselves to reskin and reflavor what is already out there. Like I said, I'm a huge proponent of saving your money and just using your creative space in your head and reskinning a lot of things. The idea of paladins running around a city in the sewers and across rooftops and things of a dark city, I think is not very much. It is not very difficult for us to reskin. Oh yeah. Now Michael's like, now say it in a gravelly voice. I'm not wearing hockey pads. I'm Batman. Oh man, that we love the Nolan movies, but the whole like gravelly voice thing is pretty hard to. It's difficult to get right without it sounding annoying over time. But also, another thing I feel like when it comes to Gotham City and the rogues gallery he has is this idea that as crazy and bizarre as Batman's villains are, there's something about the city that embraces their insanity. right? Now of course we know in real life that real people with mental afflictions, and most of us have had a number of times in our own lives, temporary to extended to permanent afflictions in our own brains. But of course, this is Gotham. This is fantasy, and hey, Kylie. And a lot of times, I think we undersell the fact that our bad guys might not be as bad as we think they are to the general public, right? There's something that other people are getting out of the crazy manic things. Like if the Joker, as an example, was a fey creature that wanted to take down the corrupt leadership, there's a bunch of innocent people that are going clapping their hands like, yeah, go ahead. We don't care. They're corrupt anyway. What do we care if they're taken out, And so while our heroes, our protagonists are going up against our enemies, there may be a lot of people who are like, please don't take out the mobsters. They're giving us our prohibition alcohol, which I wonder if you could have a city where alcohol consumption is illegal. That would be pretty cool. Okay, sorry about that, co-host. Pika says Batman is actually a paladin, and each time he smites, the comic book sound effects happen. Yeah, yeah. Before I smite, I'm going to break his bones, bit by bit. I know 37 ways to take him out. I used the most painful. I rolled a 20. Oh, you guys are crazy. Michael says Heath Ledger's Joker actually makes for a great D&D villain archetype. He's a broken assassin spec ops individual who can generate chaos without remorse. Yeah, there's a lot of people have said that the Joker in the Nolan movie in The Dark Knight um, very seriously had spec ops military training, considering the skills he had and the way he was able to use it. The ability to destabilize a society, Yep. Going on to say that he wants to fall at the hands of the heroes and will do anything to push them to that point. Suicide by cop in many ways. Yeah, he literally makes paladins fall. That's awesome. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Princess B says Gotham is in itself a city of insanity. It has an asylum, but when Gotham is portrayed at its best, Arkham is just an asylum within an asylum. It sure is. There's not much difference. Listen, there's not much difference between the people locked away and the people on the outside of it. And Joker kind of points that out plenty of times. Like, yeah, there's not much difference between you and me except a couple of bars or a straight jacket or something of that nature. And it's the cycle moves on and on. Mike's like, sure, 1920s to 30s noir setting with fantasy races, absolutely. I think that would really work. That actually sounds really good. Lounge singers, classic like lounge singers, maybe a beautiful femme fatale elf, high elf woman singing who's trapped by an ogre mob boss who won't let her out of her contract or something like that. I like the idea. Pinstripe suits, got to have the pinstripe suits and the flapper dresses and whatnot. Maybe automobiles and um, the phones, the black phones where you lift up you speak into the speaker and you hold the other one up against your ear and stuff. I like that. I like this idea a lot. Michael says the movie The Hitcher is very much the same kind of villain. Yeah. Listen, all right, D. D says I never really understood why people live in Gotham for. Why not move out? Well, the same could be said of all of us, right? Like, have you've seen the reaction videos by people from overseas looking at the terrible weather we have here in the United States, and none of us have moved. Floods, fires, hurricanes, tornadoes, brutal cold, punishing heat, droughts, mudslides, uh, periodic waves of insect swarms, disease, and all that kind of stuff. We still live here, so I, I think if you lived in it, you wouldn't think anything of it. That's what I'm thinking. That the there is a bit of a dark pride people have about the situation that they're in. Uh, people in jail having a bit of a pride of living in jail. People that live in squalor and ghettos that are. I think it's because getting a little darker here and a little more serious. I think it's because most people never and don't want to consider their upbringing to be something that's worthless. And no matter how dark, how depressing their upbringing is, they want to see a value in it, that there's a beauty in it somewhere and a glimpse of it. And so I think people don't leave Gotham because of the crucible of survival. Hey, I grew up in Gotham. I grew up in New York City. I grew up in the dark streets of Chicago. I grew up in Compton or something in California. Yeah, I did it. I survived it, and you didn't. That makes me stronger. That makes me that gives me that armor, the the battle zone, and I survived. That kind of things. That's what I think it is, or that's how I would. I think player characters would go there too and go like, "Why don't you guys just move?" And they're like, "Well, why did you come here then?" Princess Brawhammer says, "I knew this." You got to have like the cigarette hanging out of the lip. Like, I knew this dame was trouble the second I saw her. Could tell by her ears. She instantly went for the catnip. I knew she was mine from the start. We were meant to be together. Oh man. Ooh, Mike Gould says an ogre magi mob boss and Clayface is an elder Oblex. Ow! Ow, I love it. Ow. Yeah, Clayface is an elder Oblex. Oh wow, man. Yeah, he can literally look like anyone and cannot be killed when you kill a replicated person. Yep. Where's the original? Gonna have to find that tether, right? You follow that tether along the lines. Man, I love it. Dante says it's interesting though that the villains don't seem to leave either. It's like their goals are centered there because their origins are. I agree, and maybe there's a little bit of hard headedness. Like I failed, drat, foiled again. Let me try this one more time. Also, going back to if you really, really want an outside influence, going back to what our co-host Mike was saying, like maybe there is something dark about the city that draws people to it. Maybe there is a fiendish power that's like, ooh, they're all like fighting amongst each other and whatnot. Yeah, keep on going. Like maybe there is a how do you say this? There's an intractable force. And of course, you could have this as a session zero, right? Where, hey guys, you're not going to leave the city. We all agree, no matter how much you try to, you're never going to leave the city. I mean, we've seen stories about that where our hero, with their loved one in tow, gets in a convertible, packs their luggage in a car, and is like, "Hey, why don't we save up money and leave?" And they never seem to do it. Car breaks down, someone cuts them off. They get a phone call from a cousin who's in trouble. They owe a debt. I can't leave until I finish what I started. Like maybe there's just everyone just keeps rationalizing a reason never to leave. And outsiders are like, man, I don't know why people live there. And the people that live there are like, I don't know why people want to leave. Maybe there's just enough hope dangled above everyone. Just like a fish hook. Here's a little bit of hope, drawing you back in or something. I love it. Michael says, I've always seen Gotham as a comic book version of old mob run Chicago. I have too. I think many, even though a lot of the creators kind of look at it as old mob run Chicago, where there's like forced smiles on the face of the population when the mob bosses are walking around the city, and it's all almost open. It's an open secret that the mobs and all the criminals are buddy buddy up with all the city service people. The politicians, the police, fire, that kind of thing. Yeah. Mike says it feeds back to that cursed city concept. Like the city itself is alive and evil. You literally have to kill the heart of the city. And what a great excuse for the or when I say the origins of your rogues gallery. Most, comic books have some funky origins, right? Like most people that fall in vats of acid, I would say die, but instead of getting their skin bleached or something like that, right? Maybe there's something arcane in the city that the confluence of desperation, of losing one's mind, of giving up, of doing what it takes to survive makes that innocent individual who is despondent over the death of their family. No, they don't just, for lack of a better term, become catatonic or commit suicide. No, they become insanely stronger, faster. There's something unlinks in their brain. I know we always go default to like a warlock pact kind of thing, right? Warlock pacts might even be crime bosses in this city. Like the warlock the warlock patron might not be some ephemeral otherworldly power that we never really get to see and touch. Maybe they're like Jabba the Hutt. Like, yeah, they're literally around the corner. Oh, you want to see your warlock patron? Yeah, they're there with a bunch of other people. You know, with a bunch of other lackeys being told what to do. You know, yeah, the city feeds off of blood and sorrow. It smells. The city streets smell of sweat and desperation. Yeah, we talked about describing things in metaphors and whatnot. Gotham is just a chessboard for gods to play chess. Yeah, ooh, yeah. Especially if you don't want to absolutely duplicate Gotham, but the core essential value of Gotham. Yeah, the gods playing chess, moving pieces around, seeing who's going to win, who's going to lose. Could be a crucible of, strangely enough, could be a crucible for goodly beings to see if how strong their devotion is to the goodly, uh, the the lawful and or good nature of different religions and things like that. Um, Michael says there's a function replicating either wild magic surges, like creating heroes, or the demonic variants, like in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. The city makes its own combatants. Yeah, the old adage of flush something down the toilet and it grows in the sewer system is real in this world. The someone who a person who gives into their the darker parts of their personality become the part of their dark personality. Like maybe there are fiendish powers in the city, but they are the culmination of, like, I'm give an example. A serial killer that continues to kill might become more and more demonic or bestial or something of that nature. Like that might be a real thing in this city, which would be what a great motivation for our protagonists, our main characters, to confront the things that are in the city, because if they don't, it'll just grow more and more powerful. That serial killer in a first level adventure, and the serial killer's like some kind of, I don't know, third level commoner stat or something like that, like a bandit or a thug or whatever, might grow into a more prominent villain later on, growing past the bugbear and troll stage, moving on to I don't know, a type 2 fiend or something like that later on. Michaels is sweat desperation, the new scent for anyone in this in high school. Riverdale writ large or something. Yeah. Lastly, I will say uh, that one of the great things that happens with the Rose Gallery is just giving some great details for our bad guys, right? Like, why not? Okay, I know this sounds kind of kooky, but instead of just having a troll, why not have a troll that tries to put on clown makeup? Right? There's nothing that changes that about the troll, but the troll that tries to put on clown makeup and orphan kids and protects a group of orphan children that I don't know, pickpocket people in the city. I mean, why not have a thematic uh, descriptor for your bad guys? How about not just goblins, but how about goblins that are jugglers or juggalos or something, or instead of I don't know, a sphinx that is a crime boss or something like that. Maybe the sphinx is like the Riddler and hands out these little, riddles from crimes that the PCs don't understand, but they're running around with these little bits and pieces of riddles from the sphinx that's a kind of half on their side, but always has these cryptic riddles that they give out to the player characters. The player characters like, could you just say it? No more riddles, just say it. And the sphinx is like, what begins on 4, in the walks on 2 and ends on 3 or something like that. Mufa's like, juggalos. Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, you gotta have some juggalos. Why is this not working? There we go. Yeah. Yeah, Mike's like, any noir writers out there? Like noir fantasy writers out there? I think that would be cool. Yeah, yeah, see? Yeah, just because I'm a gnome doesn't mean I'm not smart. Yeah, yeah. Hey, 8 Tommy 2 times. Yeah, I'm gonna go get the papers. MD says gutter punk goblins kicking it with dumpster druids. Ooh. Ooh, me likes that. Me likes that a lot. How awesome is that? Yeah, man. Um, um, could you imagine like a really like a I don't know, like a dark, almost ninja-like gangs riding on the backs of displacer beasts across rooftops and whatnot? Ed, you want to hire me? It's going to be expensive. That would be awesome. Kylie Poe's like a cheesy hammy sphinx. Yeah. Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Circle of the junkyard. God, this sounds really good. I I'm really liking this. Could you imagine having a chase? Look, listen, you know the old cars where they have the running boards on the side and like the Tommy guns, and having a chase where the PCs are like riding on the running boards, shooting like magic missiles and rays of frost and burning hands at each other. Like they're skittering down the streets, and you hear the wee of the authorities going after them, and and you don't even have to listen. We don't even have to have real gun. What just reskin like a crossbow or something like that. I don't know. Just so you can have a lot of fun like automatic weapons fire without it really doing much. you know. Um, oh man. Dante says I had a lycanthrope were rat mobsters in Sharon. The Eberron setting was a trio with New York accents. Group favorites they were. Yes. Yeah. Oh, what were you talking to me? Oh, I know you're not talking to me. Like, what am I? What am I? A joke to you? And they're like, yeah, because you're like a fake creature. What am I, funny? What am I, a humorous limerick to you? Huh? Am I an amusing anecdote to you? Huh? Oh, Sharn, autotype hates me. Sorry about that. Sharn, yes, the city of Sharn, the city, the city of towers that grows into the air and whatnot. Yeah, that's and Eberron itself is self-proclaimed noir setting. So yeah, but I like the idea of like an old Chicago with fey creatures and things in it or something. You look up at the night sky and there's a full moon and a dragon flies across it, and then the person just throws a cigarette down on the ground and puts it out with their foot just because it's just another normal day. Michael says the Sphinx has a really sparkly dress and long cigarette holder. She runs a jazz club. Hey, you come to see me? Please don't spread your legs. Oh. You come to see me? Oh no, that would be man. Well, of course. How about classic femme fatale would be a succubus that is in liege, like controlled by some other powerful mobster person, and of course she's a succubus because that's the classic story or something like that, or you have a sidekick that ends up turning against the PCs, like Sorry, boss, but they paid me more monies. Yeah, gangs fighting in the street like West Side Story. Michael says there's a night hag that runs a pawn shop, but you can't buy anything unless you pay the price. What would that price be? Would it be a memory? Would it be a favor in the future which you cannot refuse? What is that price? Maybe it's a pound of flesh, literally. Mm-mm-mm. Uh, let's see. Pika says at least one of the public monuments in the city needs to be secretly an animated creature of some sort. Ooh, gargoyles? Gotta have some gargoyles and needful things. Yeah, yeah, you gotta have like a gargoyle. Hey, a vampire lord? It ain't gold, baby. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Man, this is some great ideas. That I didn't think we would go down this path, but I love again, let's recap this idea that using Batman and the Rogues Gallery, and I think kind of in that Rogues Gallery, Gotham City itself, using the city as a character unto itself and the people that are in it that are they are the motivating forces. They are intrinsic in the city. There's a reason why the population doesn't actively fight against these very appropriately monstrous and demonic creatures and monsters and things, because the city's corrupt anyway. It's even if it's a tenuous hold, even these criminals offer just a little bit of a possibility of seeing a better life or even leaving the city, even though they never that inside of them somewhere they know they never will. mm. Out of my neighborhood, you got those stone lions and lucky cats out in front of the business. Make some gargoyles as well. Oh yeah, absolutely. The classic lions in front of the library, the stone statues, fountain statues that are covered with like bird mess or something like that. Yeah, absolutely. Heck, you could have those living statues surrounded by a swarm of ravens or something like that, because that's where they live. Michael says I have an out of the box encounter that's a gold plated horse statue. That's a stone golem with gold plating, a central statue like this that activates under special circumstances. Yep. I love the idea of doing that. Gargoyles that act as a council of elders sitting there above you. Yeah, yeah. Heck, even black tie affairs. Black tie affairs with some of the most powerful individuals in the city, and the player characters have to go to this black tie affair, knowing that if they act up, that all the most powerful individuals in the city, plus their bodyguards, plus their entourage, could crush the PCs at any moment. Like, there's a bunch of like CR 10 plus individuals at the party. Oh, there's a Sphinx, and there's a Rakshasa, and there's a Naga in the corner, and there's a Mummy Lord, and oh, there's a fiend or whatever, and they're all like eating pedophores and drinking champagne, talking about what's going on in the city, and the PCs are like, don't. Oh, should have wore my brown pants. Oh man, an animated stone statue of an angel that's literally a serial killer. Go. Ooh, yeah. Wow. MD says, "Hey, it's a rooftop party." Yep, somebody's getting chucked off a roof. Oh, of course, and of course, we don't know who did it. The person flies off the roof, slams onto the roof of a car. Everyone looks up and it's like, "Yep, yep." One rule: no fighting. Well, and of course, the way to enforce that would be the rule. If you fight, is that everybody gets to pound on you, right? That's because that's how it's done in Vampire the Masquerade and other iterations thereof, which was Elysium was a place of neutrality in our vampire games in Philadelphia when we played. It was the art museum. Rocky Steps, the big art museum, and at night all the guards were like mentally controlled, and all the vampires would hang out there and discuss the goings on in the city, and it was neutral ground. And of course, the reason why it's a neutral ground is because the first person that acts up that causes violence there, everybody else gets to pound on that person. So that's why that's how you enforce that. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Yeah, Tesla's like, yeah, statue from Doctor Who or Terror in the Wax Museum. Oh, wax museums. Ooh, yeah. Oh, wow. Ooh. So anyway, sorry guys. Thank you very much, guys, for being part of the show. As always, it feels like we go into second gear at the end of the show, and then we have to end it. But yeah. Oh, yep. Haunted museums. Yeah. Ooh. um Lister says don't blink. Yeah, you don't want to blink in the wax museum. All of a sudden the statues just move a little bit, just a little bit. Haunted wax museums. Yeah, there's so many. There's so many things that you could add into like this, like a dark noir type city. I think this would make a great setting, like on its own. I don't mean even just, hey, let's just reskin some of Batman's villains. I think this would make a great city. I would play in it. Little Ruger pistols and Tommy guns and people with really bad Chicago Italianized accents and whatnot. I love it. All right, guys. Yeah, potion shop's actually a cigar shop. Yep, yep. I'm feeling it. I'm really feeling it. I think it's awesome. Bards are in high demand for all the nightclubs, but you don't want to make the wrong you don't want to have the wrong contract with the wrong mobster. They're not going to let you go. You better charm the group, show them your magic, or else. Bart's like, okay, what's another song? Um, uh, um. It's great. Anyway, guys, again, thank you very much for being part of the show. Got to get out of here. Everyone, have a great gaming experience. Thank you very much for stopping by. All of you out there on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook and everything. Thanks for being part of the show. All of you are my co-hosts, making me look brilliant. So I really appreciate that. Please like, share, subscribe as well. All the other information down in the doobly-doo beneath the video as well. Thank you very much. I've got to head off to work. You guys have a great one. I'll see you tomorrow. I think tomorrow is going to be, are we going X-Men? We're going to go X-Men as a rogues gallery. So we're going to pick the larger group of the X-Men, not specifically like Wolverine or anyone, but the X-Men in general, because I think going from this like Spider-Man, very personal, Batman, we're growing a little bit. We have a city. I think with the X-Men, we literally have uh, armies of individuals in their rogues gallery and such. We even have like extra dimensional spaces, far outer space and whatnot, and kind of mixed and molded together. So yeah, we're going to go with that as well. And then X-Men, of course, has a core essential value that we'll talk about as well tomorrow. So yeah, oh man, like like Michael says, like, dig it, here come the Who's Magneto memes. Think about that. Who how would you create a Magneto in Dungeons and Dragons? Wizards and Liches come to mind. I think that's the beginning of it. Okay, I'm gonna